Welcome back to The Explainer. I'm so pumped you're hanging out with us today because honestly, we're tackling something that touches literally almost every single family right now. Let's just jump right in. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the seriously complex world of our kids' digital lives. We're going to use the data, the research, and the legal frameworks to figure out exactly what happens when we post about our kids online, and way more importantly, how we can actually protect them.
To put this into perspective, take Rachel Barkman. Her son was just 2 years old when he started showing this super unique talent for identifying mushrooms. So naturally, Rachel started taking these innocent, adorable videos of him foraging out in the Vancouver woods, and she popped them onto TikTok. It was cute. It was just fun. But then, months later, a completely unknown stranger approached her 2-year-old son out in the forest and asked if he could show her some mushrooms. Yeah, no way, right? That was the exact moment Rachel literally went cold, realizing the sheer, terrifying power of the digital footprint she had just created for her toddler.
So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to kick things off with the Sharenting phenomenon, then peek below the surface at those hidden risks. After that, we'll hit some really wild data and TikTok realities, check out the right to privacy, and wrap it all up with some super practical steps for protecting your child's identity.
All right, part 1. The Sharenting phenomenon, sharing our lives online.
You've probably heard this buzzword floating around, sharenting. It's basically a mashup of share and parenting. It perfectly describes the growing trend of parents using the internet to share info, photos, and videos of their kids. And hey, I want to validate right out of the gate here. The motivations behind this, they're almost always entirely innocent. We do it because we want distant relatives to see special moments, right? We want to share how proud we are, capture memories, or just get some support from our community. From old-school postcards to Instagram posts, that core human desire to connect, it's exactly the same.
But here's the catch. Because sharing is literally just a tap away now, we've hit a pretty staggering milestone. Research shows that 81% of kids in Western countries have some kind of digital footprint before they even turn 2. Wait, think about that for a second. 81%. That means their digital identities are being entirely curated by someone else, way before they even have the brainpower to understand it, let alone consent to it.
Which brings us to Section 2, Below the Surface, where we look at the hidden dangers.
Think of sharenting like an iceberg. That cute photo you posted, that's just the tiny tip poking out of the water. Below the surface are the unintended risks. First off, we're creating a totally permanent digital footprint for another human being. Second, the absolute second you hit post, you lose total control over where that image goes. I mean, even in those private family chat groups, things get downloaded and shared. Third, and this one is getting so urgent, is AI. With just a handful of data points or photos, artificial intelligence can whip up deepfakes or manipulate images, basically stealing a child's identity. And finally, just like we saw with Rachel Barkman, those seemingly innocent posts constantly expose daily routines, exact locations, and special interests to the whole wide world.
Moving right along to Section 3, Data and TikTok Realities. Let's look at a fascinating study from the Technical University of Munich. So, these researchers sat down and analyzed nearly 6,000 TikTok videos from accounts featuring kids under 13. They sorted all this content into 3 main buckets: fashion, sports, and family. And you know what? Everyday family life totally dominated. It made up almost 70% of the videos they looked at.
But hiding inside that massive pile of data was an honestly startling statistic. Nearly 20%, 19.57% to be exact, of those analyzed videos featured kids in revealing or exposed clothing. This popped up a ton in the sports category, like kids wearing gymnastics gear or in fashion videos with swimwear or tops exposing the midriff.
Now here's where the algorithmic engagement gets truly counterintuitive. The researchers compared how people interacted with videos of kids in exposed clothing versus fully clothed kids. Unsurprisingly, the videos showing more skin racked up significantly more likes. But, and this is a big but, the videos showing less skin, the fully clothed children, actually saw a noticeably higher average number of downloads to private devices. It's such a weird, complex dynamic. It really shows how differently audiences interact with content on these apps, sometimes explicitly saving it for offline viewing.
And it doesn't stop there. They also combed through over 430,000 comments. They found tons of appearance-based remarks. Words like adorable, cute, beautiful, and gorgeous. On the surface, totally innocent compliments. But the researchers spotted a massive, really disturbing overlap. Nested right alongside those nice comments were incredibly inappropriate attachments from total strangers. We're talking about users claiming the kid was their baby, asking to adopt them, or leaving highly inappropriate, explicitly sexual remarks. That line between a harmless fan and a serious threat, it gets super blurry really fast in the comments section.
Actually, arguably the scariest reality the study uncovered is something called secondary distribution. Once a video is posted and downloaded, it rarely just stays on TikTok. These researchers literally track copies of these kids' videos to totally unauthorized Pinterest boards, dedicated purely to photos of children. They even found them on social media celebrity profile websites that blatantly list a kid's full name, their birth date, even their medical information. All of this happening completely without the parents' consent.
With all that data in our heads, let's pivot to Section 4, the right to privacy and how a child's evolving capacities fit into the law.
You know, international law is actually surprisingly clear on this. Article 16 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child explicitly states that kids have a fundamental right to privacy and protection from arbitrary or unlawful interference. Now, sure, social media wasn't even a thing when the UN drafted this, but the core principle, it absolutely holds up. Kids have an evolving capacity to consent. A toddler honestly couldn't care less if you post a video of them. But a 14-year-old, they might find that exact same video deeply humiliating. Their privacy interests evolve as they grow up.
So global legislation is finally starting to catch up to this reality. Let's compare two different approaches. Over in France, they have a new children's image rights law that actually lets parents jointly request the erasure of their kids' images from social networks. It puts the power squarely in the parents' hands. Meanwhile, in the U.S., Minnesota just passed a bill that gives that power directly to the kids. Anyone over the age of 13 can request the deletion of any content featuring their likeness. It's fascinating because both models are completely pioneering this idea of a right to erasure in our digital age.
All right, finally, let's hit Section 5, protecting your child's identity. Time for some actionable steps. We've looked at the deep, hidden risks, so let's bring it back to the surface and focus on what we can actually do. This fantastic resource called Teach Today offers some rapid-fire digital hygiene tips you can use right now. First up, aggressively review your privacy settings. Next, audit your follower lists. Do you actually know all these people in real life? Third, just deactivate your location services. There's no reason strangers need to track your daily routines. Fourth, if you do want to share, try using filters or taking photos from behind so you're not blasting your kid's face everywhere. And lastly, just completely avoid sharing photos of kids in the bathtub or in swimwear. Boom. These are simple habit changes, but they drastically cut down the risks we just talked about.
Beyond just posting habits, we've got to lock down the actual devices against hackers. KPMG outlines 4 basic cybersecurity steps every family should take. Step 1, use strong, unique passwords for every single account. Seriously, just get a password manager, it's a game changer. Step 2, always enable multi-factor authentication. Step 3, keep your software and antivirus tools fully updated to block malware. And Step 4, avoid free, unsecured public Wi-Fi like the plague. It is a literal playground for hackers looking to snatch personal info.
So what does this all mean for us? Well, the bottom line is that our kids are growing up in a digital world that was absolutely not built with their unique vulnerabilities in mind. We're the ones with the power, and really the responsibility to curate their digital lives. So before you hit share on that next totally adorable moment, I want you to pause and ask yourself, could this photo be embarrassing for my kid in a few years? And when it goes out into the void of the internet, who is really looking at their digital footprint? Keep learning, keep tweaking those privacy settings, and thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer.